Shout out to the old school, back in the days. Missing all the good times, don't let the memories fade.
All
Shout
right,
out
to the
Sorry,
old school, back in the days. Yada yada. All right, thank you for hanging out with us. This is News and Views with
Jesse.
Ryan.
And Dylan.
That's right. News and Views, I should mention, is coming out of the core of Regent Park, outward and beyond. It is a weekly, half-hour-long news broadcast for those who want to get behind the headlines, for analysis, interviews, and alternative perspectives from a decidedly progressive point of view.
Each week it's a new adventure. We have things such as discussions, maybe documentaries someday, and things that explore important stories that are local, regional, and national, and sometimes international. In all things Radio Regent, which is how you're listening to this, although not really today. This is a video-only special episode. The program is dedicated to inclusivity, positivity, and diversity.
Mm-hmm. Yes, admittedly, we have had a couple little technical difficulties, but you know what? We are forging ahead and we are doing the show.
Which reminds me, if somebody could set a timer for 28 minutes, because my usual methods will not suffice.
If I might, I'll set a timer and we'll be all right.
Okay.
How many minutes did you say?
28-ish.
28 minutes anyways.
Something around that.
All right.
Lots of things going on in Canada, Ontario, and then of course Toronto.
Yeah, as always.
Hmm.
What's first on the docket? Are we talking about the weather?
Yeah. Well, so why don't we talk about the weather?
All right. Well, I'm gonna need to rely on you to.
Things. Oh, there we go. Things have been a little bit drastic in our weather, haven't there? Been. We've had wonderful sunny skies and then a lot of freezing weather as well. Where should we go? Billy Bishop.
Billy Bishop, brought to you by the Canadian Government Weather Service. Even yesterday was pretty wild. Yesterday was like 10 degrees and sunny, and then suddenly it started raining, and then it was snowing, and then it got really windy, and then at night it was like -3.
Crazy.
I was up on my dad's balcony at the 11th floor, and it felt like I was on the drop zone. 2 seconds after it drops, like that wind. It was so windy.
It's intense.
Yeah, I did not leave the house yesterday. So
I'm reminded that it's March, right? The weather does funky things in March.
and in April, which is only 2 days away.
That's true.
Oh, also, just remember, until the end of March, you can still donate to the Coldest Night of the Year event for the next 2 days at cnoy.ca. So get down there, make a donation, and thank you so much for all the fundraising and support and the walking. Great total amount raised this year. So
cnoy.ca. Make your donations today. So what's going on? Just to touch a tiny bit more on the weather. What do we got this weekend? Well, tomorrow 7 degrees Celsius with periods of rain and mixed snow. Saturday we're going up to 10 Celsius with more showers. Hey, it's April 1st.
Yeah, these lows are looking a little weird though. So right now we're 2 degrees tonight, -1. Tomorrow, as Ryan said, 7, and then overnight 8.
Ouch.
Sure, higher overnight.
Oh, look at that though during the day on April 2nd.
Well, the trick before that is Saturday night, April 1st, high of 10, but then a low of -8. So it's going to be even more of a wild swing than yesterday.
but the trick before that is making sure you got a good joke for April Fool's Day before noon.
It's April. Look how nice the weather is. Hi, April
Yeah,
Fool's. It's going to
April
drop
Fools.
20 degrees.
Get ready for the snowstorm.
Yeah, every April. So sunny after that. Maybe looking like a sunny Sunday, as the name ought to suggest.
Sweet.
But
Well deserved. When I've spoken to other Torontonians, we are all ready for the summer, aren't we? For the spring.
I'm never not.
Yeah.
I wish it was always between 10 and 30 degrees wherever I was.
That's true.
That would be ideal.
I know, man.
Personally.
Lots of things happening. A little more local to Regent. I see you have something here about bedbugs in Toronto.
Yeah.
We were discussing that a little bit, but apparently Toronto has a serious bedbug problem. It's been going on for actually many, many years.
Yeah, it's not a new thing.
No. Quick little tidbit. I was going to move into a little apartment on One Homewood Drive, of all places. Looks beautiful there, but then I checked out the bedbug registry. Now, this is 10 years ago, okay? And I ended up not moving into the apartment because it said that it had a bedbug problem.
Where's Homewood?
It's right across the street from the, oh my gosh. What's that giant solarium with plants in it? I'm using
Allen
the wrong...
Gardens.
Allen Gardens, rather.
Okay, yeah.
So.
That's a lovely place.
Mhm.
Although the main dome is in a box right now.
Okay,
doing
interesting.
reconstruction. Yeah, so Toronto was named the worst city in the country for bedbugs. No surprise, has the biggest population. Just some basic tips on things that you can do are like, contrary to popular opinion, they are visible with the naked eye, and also contrary to popular opinion, they don't only live in beds. That's just where they tend to be because they need to feed on people and other things for blood in order to survive and feed their offspring. So they tend to come out when a warm, bloody body is, motionless for a long period of time.
Okay.
So that's also the best way that you can spot evidence of their existence when you can't actually see them. Is they leave these little brown rust spots, which are the blood left over or whatever. So you can sometimes see those. They tend to hang around in like nooks and cracks and crannies, crevices, like where the folds of the mattress are. Baseboards, freaking everywhere. Unfortunately, I have lived with them at once in my life, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
So just like if you have any suspicions, you got these like weird. They tend to bite in these like breakfast, lunch, and dinner patterns, apparently, which are like
the
three bites
Orion's belt.
Yeah, the Orion's belt of horrible suffering.
Yes.
Orion's belt, not Ryan's belt.
Oh, sorry, Orion. That's in the sky.
Yes,
The astrological Orion.
Yes.
Not Ryan.
Yeah.
Cool.
If you got any series of 3 itchy bites and maybe some rusty colors in your sheets, worth checking out.
Cool.
Worth beginning the process of getting rid of them because they don't go away on their own.
Okay. Bringing it a little more local, Fred Victor Mission, along with partner organization, will operate a new 24-hour drop-in and support service site for vulnerable women at 233 Carlton Street. The city has leased the property at 233 Carlton Street as the relocation site for the Adelaide Women's Resource Centre. Construction is ongoing and expected to be completed early 2024.
Wow, only 1 year.
Yeah, it's going to be a fast construction.
The site will focus on providing 24-hour drop-in support services along with emergency beds for 35 vulnerable women at risk of gender-based violence and experiencing homelessness.
I think it's super important for places like this to be obviously open 24 hours because, dark and horrible things happen at odd hours. So it's really important, I think, for these women and children to be able to have a safe space to go.
Yeah.
So that's really, really good. What else do we have here? Toronto Community Housing provides updates on progress towards confronting anti-Black racism strategies, key outcomes during 2022. On March 21st, 2023, Toronto Community Housing TCHC provided updates on the success and efforts to achieving the confrontation of anti-Black racism. We're hearing this term, racism, but then, of course, anti-Black racism quite a lot right now.
Are we? I'm out of touch.
I've been hearing about it, and in the educational system, unfortunately, there's racism. People are trying to confront it. So that's always a good thing.
Can anybody enlighten me onto like the particulars of anti-Black racism as opposed to just racism as more of a general term?
I think recently there's been a bit of an understanding about some of the things that go on in maybe Toronto East Scarborough high schools in terms of just violence, weapons being carried, TTC drivers being assaulted. A lot of this is based, though, on the way that teachers deliver their curriculum.
You said it, because it's also subtle things, too. There have been some so-called well-to-do teachers who have used, I hate to out a school here, but I'll say one of the colleges, a professor used, the N-word when she was trying to describe something from the past. But I think we just have to have certain cultural sensitivities with words, and that hasn't been happening. So the kids were, feeling traumatized, and anyway.
I think it's very possible to misdiagnose an issue when it's possible that the largest issue of the whole high schools with this directed racism towards Black teenagers maybe is due to the failures of the teachers and the board of education and everybody whose job it is, the responsibility it is to make everybody feel equal within a class setting. Now, I had an experience the other week where I got on a bus, I was riding the bus, and the bus came to a stop, and the bus driver let some people on, but he wouldn't let some of the teenagers on. And so I told him, if you want to be treated a certain way, you got to give people the same respect that you expect from them. And I'm going to say, viewers, if you're listening, be mindful that I'm going to share something now that is not necessarily lighthearted, but it is something that people are experiencing. Disclosure. Over the past couple of months, a few TTC drivers have been assaulted because they refuse to pick up teenagers and show them the respect in which they demand from those teenagers. If you disrespect somebody, how do you expect them to respect you when they are being taught in an environment that teaches that?
I'm glad that you brought that up.
I honestly concur with that thematic thing because, you know, I have experienced this multiple times and talked to multiple other people who've experienced the same thing. You know, a TTC operator, usually bus, sometimes streetcar, more rarely subway, I would say. You know, somebody's running for the vehicle. They are in no position where it would be unsafe or dangerous or whatever to let this person on. And they just like close the doors and drive away, right?
And who are they to you that makes you make the decision, regardless of what their race is, that, oh, this person is undeserving of being let on the bus at the dedicated stop for this bus route because I feel, separate from the TTC, that I have established a new rule on this route at this bus stop. When these teenagers come up in numbers in which intimidate me, I will react with disrespect. And on the day that I forget their faces and they get on my bus and they assault me, it's not my fault.
Yeah.
And that is the furthest thing from the truth. Because if you respect somebody and you let them on the bus, they may say names because they're teenagers. They're growing up, they're learning things, they want to be seen by their peers in a positive light, so they do things that may not reflect them in a positive light in the community.
Respect. We need respect.
Respect.
Simple.
RESPECT.
Precisely.
But not copyright infringement.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said. I mean, glad you mentioned that. There's a lot going on in terms of respect, disrespect, prejudice, racism.
Sorry, I got a little passionate there.
Nah, bro.
Okay.
That's all right. And I think it's important, back to the anti-black racism thing, it's not just like anti-black, it's just like also racism in general. It seems to be an awful thing that is really spilling out into society. I guess it's always been there. But I thought that we were at peace for a little while.
I don't know. I always wonder in situations like this whether is it happening more or is it being talked about and reported on more?
Yeah.
Like, is it because there's less segregation in society that, you know, certain groups are kind of meeting more regularly and closely than they used to? No, I just like, you know, this is pure conjecture, but like I think back to, I don't know, the Toronto of, I was going to say 50 years ago, but that's only the early 80s, so I need to probably reach further back, but like, I don't know, the Toronto of like 70-ish, 80-ish years ago when I feel like there was more, my image is that there was a lot more segregation in society, you know, there would be like lots of pretty ensconced white communities and then like everybody else. And then I wonder if now, because people are just kind of having to live wherever they can for a large proportion of people, you know, people of different like cultural lineages, backgrounds, ethnicities, whatever.
You know,
like,
we've got
just kind of everywhere.
Yeah, and immigration, which we very much need, is steadily coming into Toronto, and some people are feeling burnt by that.
Yeah.
There's a huge aspect of immigration that pulls over into politics, because if, say, Justin Trudeau passes legislation that allows 2.5 million people from abroad to come within 5 years, that guarantees your percentage of the vote.
Yep.
Yeah, well said.
And if you can guarantee yourself a percentage of the vote while raising the GDP and lowering the unemployment rate, then you probably get reelected. But maybe not Justin Trudeau.
Whoever, right?
Whoever. Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Politician X.
We're at an interesting time in the broadcast where we can kind of talk about anything. We covered a little bit of local region. Because we were talking about the TTC, I do just want to punch in something real quick here.
Oh no, this one.
Yes, yes. I hate to bring it up, but more TTC violence has happened. 22-year-old Jordan O'Brien Tolbin of no fixed address, unfortunately, was out on the streets. I know, catch me here. This gentleman was known by police, and unfortunately, Jordan committed murder against a young man named Gabriel Magalhaes. And this young man was minding his own business. And his mother is obviously heartbroken at the loss of his son. But I was talking to Jesse earlier. I saw a CBC broadcast, and the mother had pain in her heart. But she said we have to ask ourselves as a society, what are the social determinants of health that are causing this rage in some people, right?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really, really good for her to bring up in her moment of pain, you know?
Yeah, I honestly don't know if there could be... I say better is a weird word to use, but like the depth and breadth of that response is so crucial at such a time when everybody's talking about we need more police in the TTC, and she's saying like, no, we don't.
Yeah.
My son was just murdered on the TTC. I don't think we need more police in the TTC. How can you go above a voice like who's kind of echoing that? And of course you can try. You can be Doug Ford and say, oh, Toronto better not elect a mayor who's going to defund the police because blah, blah, whatever stupid reasons. Like, you didn't just have a child murdered on the TTC. Shut your mouth.
Right.
This is not your place to say anything, especially a week after you said you're not going to get involved in the politics of the mayoral race in the city. It's like, you slime.
We're not live, unfortunately, right now, but today being Thursday, there is a candlelight vigil for the young man who was murdered taking place today at High Park main gates on Bloor Street at High Park Avenue at 8 p.m. Mourners are then set to march to Geostation.
Whoa.
So, Toronto is feeling this. It's scary. I'm feeling a little bit of PTSD. I've mentioned it before to both of you when I'm on the subway. I was going home on the bus and somebody got on and I thought, oh, my neck, my neck is exposed. Isn't that a horrible thought? But that's really messed up. I didn't have that thought 5 years ago.
No, and I was saying to Ryan last night, Geostation was my home station as a kid, and this area, there's a good chance, unless it's been replaced by a newer one. I sat on the bench that this kid was stabbed on, and they're going to be walking from the gates of High Park up to the station. That's the way that I would go connect to the city as a kid. It's I haven't lived there for 20 years, but I lived there for 13 years, and they were the first of my life. So it's hit home, I guess, in that way.
I have an interesting challenge for everybody listening and everybody here.
I love the challenge.
In regards to this incident, think for a moment. You are the person who is 22 years old with no fixed address and no supports and no family and no friends and no money and no help, and you're trying to get change, you try to get by, and nobody sees you as a person. What does it take? What do you have to do in order to get the help that you need? Do you have to murder somebody who you don't even know in such a public place so that you get arrested in order to get the help that nobody is offering you in the first place? Does it have to be someone so young and so innocent? Does it matter who it is? Or are we failing in mental health?
Yes.
I think that's exactly what the mother was putting forward.
Across the board.
Totally.
You can be mad that you lost your son.
Yeah.
Rightly so. You can be heartbroken that you lost your son. But what changes after the death of somebody who was innocent in a problem that is so broad and so swept under the rug, even though large corporations spend money to make it look like they're actually doing something?
Bell, let's talk.
Let's talk.
For a short period of time while this promotion is on.
What do? They cut the contract. Bell does not say let's talk anymore. They say, where's the next investment?
Right. Something that is coming out of this whole TTC issue is the fact that our cell phones, 90% of the time, most of our cell phones do not work in the TTC. And cell phone companies are really going to have to look at that and stop being cheap about it.
They have it all over the world.
Crazy, man. So that needs to be looked at. There's a lot of articles about that going on. What are you reading over there, Jesse?
So I'm just trying to pull up the details of the mother's response.
It was in a spoken. It was in a recorded interview.
Okay, yeah, because in the bit of the transcribed part here, there isn't really anything addressing the longer version, but the blurb that Ryan mentioned, and I kind of thought of in response to Dylan's challenge just now, was saying, hoping more people will raise their voices so we can heard. More needs to be done to help people in crisis. More needs to be done so people don't get to the point when they're in crisis. We need more social services. We need investments into physical and mental health, supports for housing. I feel like the way things are going now, so many people are going to be suffering the horrible pain I'm going through right now, right? So
Look at those journalistic skills. That was really good. I'm impressed. You just went and found exactly.
That's full circle.
So that's really good.
I mean, so like, I feel like quite realistically, she probably will have more to say about this in coming time, right?
Yeah.
But like at the moment, how amazing that she's able to like see this from outside her own perspective and be like, this happened for a reason that is the failing of like largely government.
But because of what happened, now there will be change. Now there will be action by the people, and now, because of the death of an innocent person on TTC property, you will now see advertisements on the subway for suicide, for mental health. Watch, I bet you.
I mean, that's the first time response.
I bet
Right?
you
It's
a
like,
copy,
look, we're
right?
doing something. There's ads, there's posters.
Now
like,
watch the first
do
companies. I challenge you. Watch the companies that run in to invest money and do nothing actually.
Yeah. Like, what does Bell actually do besides put up posters?
Nothing. They sell talking.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What best way to sell talking? By a mental health crisis.
Yeah.
Everybody is clamoring to be mayor right now, and they're bringing up all these issues that we're talking about.
I feel like it would take a lot of time to talk about, but there's this other thing that we didn't talk about
Sorry.
for a couple weeks.
Thank you.
About
Thank
food,
you.
right?
Of
Yeah,
course.
food.
Bless you.
This is kind of a tangent, but we can come back. I'm sure there will be fertile ground to return to this.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But for
Well
now,
said.
we're going to divert.
I will just interject really, really quickly, and then you guys can take it away. I checked out Bowl and Snacks a couple weeks ago, which is a wonderful little restaurant in takeout restaurant in Regent Park. Found out that the woman Rashmi Shrestha, who is the owner of Bowl and Snacks, has set up this wonderful food joint, but she is mainly the only employee, right? She's doing everything. And the article basically talks about how it's really hard being, a small-time business and setting up in Regent Park. The restaurant is still there. I had some great vegetarian spring rolls. Loved it.
Is it a vegetarian restaurant?
Is it on Gerard?
Where is it? Right
By the convenience store?
It's by the Tim Hortons.
I think it's on a North-South Street, not on Gerard.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's like one or two over from here.
I don't want to say that it's vegetarian, but they did have plenty of vegetarian options, which
Okay.
I'm a vegetarian, really liked.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then I was fascinated because I found an article about a brand new restaurant in Regent Park opening up with a little more probably corporate money. 19.
Yeah, it's a restaurant group endeavor. So
Okay. A new restaurant inspired by 1950s Italy. It's a pasta lover's paradise.
God, the pictures of this place.
Yeah, and I just found it so funny reading the article, about the independent business owner versus the, giant restaurant corporation and how the two worlds are very different.
I mean, I must say, I don't know how giant they are. They're Gusto 54, which runs a few other places called Gusto 101, Trattoria Nervosa, Pie, and Chubby's Jamaican Kitchen.
Okay.
So this restaurant's called Zuzu?
Yes.
The new one, yeah. Which I think is like right over there.
I've seen the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually an exposed kitchen that you can see into. So if you're walking by, you could just stand there and put your face on the window and watch them make everything.
Yeah, I for my birthday, somebody got me some cookies from Zuzu, and I must say the cookies were very good.
Okay.
But it brings into question small business versus corporation and all that stuff. And you mentioned the word kitchen.
It's not a common thing that you see windows into the kitchens of places, right?
I feel like it's I've seen it more recently than I ever used to.
Like downtown on Queens Quay, there's a restaurant that I'm not going to mention that has a glass kitchen, so you can see while you're waiting.
I have an issue with that restaurant.
Yes.
I know the exact restaurant.
So let's not mention the name.
Okay, we won't. But I have a problem. There's a poster outside of that restaurant, and I had a problem. They had a. Should I mention this? It was what appeared to be an indigenous character, woman, with ceremonial dress on, and then the top of her head, instead of it being a mohawk, was a bunch of spoons and forks. And I found that to be extremely offensive. I should probably write a letter. I wonder if it's still there. We're talking about the same place.
Yeah.
I think. Anyway.
Absolutely.
Okay, sorry, I have to interject.
Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming this place is like not run by indigenous people, because like if it was, that's a whole other picture.
Yeah.
But that sounds pretty weird.
Yeah.
It's possible, though, that it could be branding for a beer or something like that. It could be something that was branded in America to begin with.
Yeah.
As we see, there's lots of reparations for football teams and restaurants and all kinds of things.
True.
Appropriating certain stuff. But in regards to the glass windows in the kitchens, I think there's a very feasible idea, especially for small businesses, to get off the ground without incurring debts that go with opening a brick and mortar business.
He's okay.
Excuse me.
Ginger ale.
Ginger ale. I should have got the large bottle. But one of the greatest things about ghost kitchens is that you cut your costs of operation while prioritizing certain aspects of the business while still delivering quality.
So let's double back for those who may not know what ghost kitchens are. Can you give them a background?
So a ghost kitchen is a place that operates in face of a restaurant, such as Milestones, for example. Cutting the rental space of a large parking lot based restaurant and cutting it down to a small shipping container that is rented hourly, weekly, monthly. And you can see kind of how the prices would just drop exponentially. And then based on your food orders and the company which provides your food, if you prioritize a couple menu items and have sale days where you stock only certain kinds of produce and poultry or protein, then you can maximize your profit margins as well as the freshest day for certain specials, and you can also get it delivered for cheaper to your customer at a better rate than Uber.
And that's a trick, is like ghost kitchens aren't restaurants where you go and sit to eat.
That's right.
They only exist for the purpose of
only delivering
food.
I haven't seen any ghost kitchens that have like a pickup window, but that's also an option as well.
Yeah, why not? Like, the food's already there and ready to make.
Yeah.
Do you think that kind of concept would work in something like the context of bowls and snacks, where actually I think it mentioned in the article that she starts her day driving for Uber, interestingly enough.
Yeah.
So she's already doing that kind of work as a side gig.
Yeah.
Do you think that's something that like maybe would be more viable for folks in these kinds of situations? Also, who already have, on the subject of debt, I think she already has a bunch of this old COVID money that's at the end of the year. Lots of businesses are poised to have to pay back like within 9 months at this point.
Wow.
I think it's great that she's driving for Uber because she can see what it costs to deliver orders of certain prices. So if I were her, I would be focusing on the pricing of mileage and rate of tip and expenses and taxes, just as a business model to do my own stuff. And then I would go find a courier company like one that I'm trying to start. And I would partner with them because cyclists are more for the environment than Uber will ever be. Cyclists actually care about your food. And I notice a lot of people who drive take the same route all the time. So if you
educate me, why is that a problem?
If you have a bicycle courier trying to deliver a sandwich at 5 o'clock,
right,
in rush hour traffic,
he or she can get there pretty quickly as opposed to a car.
Now, if you got a 4-door sedan that you're doubling as an Uber Eats vehicle and an Uber, you're not gonna make it through that light. You're not gonna make it through the light. You're not gonna make it through that little area, and you're definitely not gonna make it there before the cyclists.
Although the trick of being in a place like we are, there's certain months of the year where cycling is much less viable as an option for delivering. Not that it's impossible, especially for the hardy folk, but
in Scarborough, they dedicate full lanes to buses and bicycles.
Wow.
And if anybody parks or drives in that lane, I think it's like a $400 to $600 fine.
Can I just say something? I've had a lot of side hustle jobs in my life, like more than anyone I know, and I did a fair amount of delivering. I decided, and I was delivering roses at one point. Toronto is a city that is incumbent on deliveries, but yet the infrastructure is not set up for deliveries. No. I heard even when the Eaton Center was alive, they had a team of lawyers that would every year just write off all the tickets that their delivery vans got every single day. So that's crazy, right? So I like cities that leave a little more room for maybe delivery vans or bicycles,
Yeah, I mean, the bike lanes on Danforth and Bloor, like that, I don't know what, only 5 years ago that became a thing. I was away intermittently, so I don't know, but like growing up, that wasn't a thing, and lots of other places in the city, that's not a thing. Cyclists are just need to kind of weave their way in and out of regular traffic and not get destroyed. To be fair, lots of cyclists are horrible cyclists, and they do that not for their own safety, but because they're like, now I'm a pedestrian, now I'm a vehicle, now I'm both, I don't care.
I think the overall feel of this week's episode is we need to pay attention more to each other, and we need to pay attention when people don't say how they're actually feeling, and we need to look at people
Ding, ding.
in
Ding,
their
ding.
eyes and stop looking at our phones when
Yeah.
our alarms go off, and
Yeah.
realize that our phone is an extension of ourselves, and we have ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Put the phone down.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
Take the SIM card out.
Take
Take the SIM card out and use it for photos and videos of what you're doing.
Yeah, airplane mode at least. If you don't want to
Airplane
commit.
mode. Save yourself the radiation.
Yeah. I like the architecture of our non-live radio show today because it's almost like we're just chilling around the dinner table.
Yeah.
It's a bit more
So-
conversational. We should bring in some Monopoly or something next time
Sure.
Critique the system as we played with the system.
with the one-eyed monocle.
We're always super pleased to be working through or broadcasting through Radio Regent.
Radio Regent.
Yes, that's right. Through Regent Park Focus Media.
This week being a special TV only episode,
That's right.
coming to you whenever it does.
It's been a good one though.
Next week we will hopefully be back live on the airways at the usual time of 4:30 Thursday afternoon, and hopefully it'll be a nice spring April day at that point. And hopefully lots of other good things will have happened that I can't even think of right now.
I can't wait to get my bicycles on the road. They're almost ready.
It's getting there.
You said bicycles. Lucky. You got two?
I got two.
Dang.
Wow.
Some people got two phones. I got two bikes.
Okay, I've run bikes.
Priorities.
You've been checking out news and views. Thank you so much.
This has been Jesse.
Ryan.
And Dylan.
We'll see you next time.